Cricbuzz Chatter at the end of day 2 of this first test match from अपना ही हैदराबाद. लेकिन जो है हैदराबाद जिस रफ्तार से जाता उस रफ्तार से जबरदस्त ज्यादा मैच चल रही. It is already at the end of day 2. DK said yesterday, if you remember, 3 days. You still stick with 3?
I still stick with 3. I'm just a little worried about how well Jadeja and Akshar are batting. So that is my only doubt, not anything else. But it's good if India can bat further. We'll speak about that a lot more. But I still believe that it can be done very much tomorrow itself.
I thought the highlight of the day, I mean, there were many highlights, was the contrast in the way India played and the way England played. If you looked at England yesterday, they put on 50, then lost 3 wickets. They put on another 50, then lost 4 wickets. Then Stokes dragged the tail to 246. India had partnerships for every single wicket other than the Ashwin Jadeja run out. Every single wicket, there were partnerships. And that told me a couple of things. One is that all the batsmen seemed ready. The other was they lacked the bowlers to, once they got a breakthrough, to ram it home.
True. It's very obvious the gulf in the batting, especially between the batters of India and batters of England, not so much. There is a gulf, but still not so much. But definitely the gulf between what the spinners have, and there is Indian spinners, daylight, and then there is England spinners. I think they are a long way off in terms of sheer consistency of length, more than anything else. It's been a perennial problem for a lot of touring sides who pick spinners without knowing how consistent their lengths can be. And it's been a problem for India when a lot of the times when they've toured abroad and they've taken fast bowlers and they've actually at times played a fast bowler whose strength is not consistency in length, and we have suffered because of that once too many times. And that seems to be the case right now as we speak in this test match itself. The exposure that the spinners have in India in terms of experience and how much they've bowled on these tracks is so much more compared to what England are producing right now. The number of full bungers.
Yeah, the great challenge of winning away, and that's why winning away is so good. That's why that Australia series will go down in folklore. But let's come back to this. DK makes a very valid point about the lengths that they bowl. We went on all day today about lengths. The only thing we didn't talk about, we've talked about more, is number 4 in ODI, but that's banned on Cricbuzz. So we will not go there. What was about the lengths? Let's look at the pluses first. And is Jadeja an all-rounder now, or can Jadeja be classified as a pure batter? I mean, he's also bowls, but purely from a batting perspective, because he scored more runs than anybody else in the last, 8 or 9 test matches. He was averaging 42 with this not out. He'll be averaging even more. So you can actually now start thinking of him, unless in your mind you've already thought of him as a pure batter.
No, he's definitely not a pure batter for me. I think the word all-rounder, when it was designed in cricket, it was around players of Jadeja's
So when I say
skill.
pure batter, I meant the batting component is not an all-rounder batting component, but he could get into the side almost as a batter.
Absolutely. I think he can purely get into his side on merits of what he's shown with the bat over a period of 12, 18 months consistently. And not surprising why he's part of the ICC test team, this year as well. The kind of consistency he's shown with the bat, he's been phenomenal. And I think you were there when I said on air that I believe it's a stronger suit as well, test cricket. It just fits in beautifully, takes time, plays his shots, but it requires absorb pressure really well. One of a kind. Jadeja is someone that as you look at him more and more, you realize how valuable he is as a cricketer. You can get in, just like you said, in the team as a pure batter and as a pure bowler, and he's worth its weight in gold.
And his fielding, I mean, yesterday we saw him carry out a save. Let's not forget, Jadeja played the 2008 Under-19 World Cup. That was 15 years ago. He's about 34, 35 now, 34, thereabouts, and still remaining wonderfully athletic. He's still the quickest on 2 legs. So it's been wonderful watching him. Remember, he took 3 wickets and then came back. We talk about how much time you spend on the field, about the stamina on the field. So Jadeja has been one of the brightest stars, except that this evening he would face a slightly stern examination from his long-time friend and bowling partner Ravindra Ashwin on what constitutes a single and who turned his back and who let whom down. But that's a separate story. I was very happy personally for KL Rahul. I've long believed that he's a very special talent. And I just got the feeling he was a little lost. I don't know him well enough to know what's going on in his mind. But I always thought that the mind, something was coming in the way of KL Rahul becoming the player that I thought he could be. There's no business averaging 35 in Test cricket for the player that he is. But he said to us afterwards that after the 100 in South Africa, he's feeling good. And I get the feeling the middle order is a nicer spot for him, but also for fans like us, it allows us to feel a little more secure when KL Rahul still has to come out to bat.
It was baffling when I saw the stat as to where his average is, and it should definitely be much higher for a start. And you can understand why he's doing so well in the middle order. Just from a technical standpoint, he's very good in defense against spin, against fast bowling as well. Add to the fact that he's been an opener, so he plays the moving ball really well. He has got everything in him to be a solid middle order batsman. And the beauty is, in white ball cricket, digressing a little bit, in white ball cricket as well, if needed, he can raise his tempo, and if needed, he can, bring it down a few notches and just play what's required at that point of time in terms of situation. I vividly remember the Ranji Trophy final. He was slated to bat opening, but then he had an injury, so ended up coming at number 5, and he got a 199, if I'm right, and played spin really well. And it just goes to show how strong he is as a batter. Under turning conditions, he's got runs consistently because of how good he is with his defense, and then he's always got the big shots to back it up. But let's be honest, I didn't think it was one of the toughest bowling attacks he would play. He would have played today.
Absolutely.
In terms of pure skill of spin that was on display, and he would rate many other knocks much higher than that. But it was good to see KL Rahul come in at number 4, a spot that's belonged to King Kohli for some time now, and given the opportunity to come out there and do what he did.
Yeah, once Kohli returns, he can easily slot in at 5. He talked about that 100 in South Africa. I know it's not part of today's summary, but Sunil Gavaskar said it was among the top 10 innings that he had seen, and that's very high praise. Kevin Peterson said on air, it's one of the finest innings played by a visiting batter in South Africa. And he's carried that confidence into this. I think this is his place now. As long as he's very clear in his head, he's working hard. I think he's getting into a better place in life as well. He looks a little happier. So I think he's set to be batting at number 5. What about the person?
Also, Harsha,
yeah,
I think post this test series, it's going to be very interesting times for him, because he definitely doesn't find a spot in the World Cup as an opener. So what is he going to do with Lucknow Super Giants? Where is he going to bat? Does he see himself as a middle order guy who can come in and change the game?
I think he sees himself as a middle order batter. And I didn't realize that when they did the Devdutt Padikkal trade. When they did the Padikkal trade, I thought, what's the big deal? They Quinton de Kock and KL Rahul. Why do they need Padikkal again? Poor fellow's already not getting to open in Rajasthan Royals. Then when I realized, when KL Rahul said, now I'm a middle order player in all formats, I realized that maybe Padikkal will open and he will bat down at 4. So it's a good point, actually.
It's a slot open, isn't it? There's
You're not going to sledge him when in LSG RCB games, right? So
I will. I have to make that happen, because he's taking up a middle order slot rather easily. But it's a slot where Jitesh Sharma is doing well. Sanju Samson has had his time there as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see.
Might come
Ishan
back.
Kishan. But I think Ishan Kishan, they look more as an opener, not so much in the middle. It's only a question of whether KL Rahul can do something special as a middle order batsman, and then he will fancy his chances in the World Cup team.
The other player I've rated, actually, even when he was opening the batting, I thought his home would eventually be at number 3. But there is Shubman Gill batting in the white ball game like he owns the place. I mean, last IPL he made all those runs, but he made 1,400 runs in one-day cricket in 1 year. He owns the place. I got the feeling today that he was trying too hard. When I did a pre-match interview with him before the first game, and I said, what a great breakout year it was for you last year, and what do you think of yourself in red ball cricket? He said, when you interview me start of next year, you will be talking about my breakout year in red ball cricket. And I looked at that statement in 2 ways. One is, I thought, it's affecting him. That is why he's coming out and making that statement. I thought he tried too hard today. Where would you put this innings? Because he was block, hit, miss hit. Block, hit, out.
Every cricketer will go through this phase when there are a lot of doubts hovering around your head, and obviously, in a way, the axe is on your head. So there is that pressure as a batter. You come through this, and then you become the player that you are. It happened in white ball cricket in both the formats. In Test cricket, he's actually, in a way, got a long row. And to be fair to him, he's averaging early 30s, which is something that he won't be proud of himself, because he's way better than that. But definitely the pressure was showing when he was batting. The choice of shots he was doing, I think Kevin Peterson made a really good point. He was either defending a few balls on the go and then trying a big shot. His ability to actually rotate strike, which is one of his biggest strengths, because he uses his feet really well, which he didn't so much today. Defended a lot of them. Had a close LBW shout yesterday. It wasn't a fluent knock. One that was fraught with pressure more than anything.
I mean,
the choice of shots as well.
You know what you're talking about better than most people who live with that kind of pressure. And I thought I saw the contrast between someone who's feeling the weight and someone for whom the weight had seemed to have lifted in that partnership with KL Rahul, because Rahul came and tucked one, boom, four, one. So he was rotating the strike so well, KL Rahul, and so the contrast was standing out a little bit. But I have little doubt, as DK said, Shubman's been given a slightly long rope because everyone believes that he's such a good player. But I still think in the second innings and in Visakhapatnam, in between these next 2 or 3 innings, he will need to get a big one. And I so hope he does, because he just strengthens. Number 3, if he can be settled at number 3, it will be fantastic. What about England then? There was a second team play. What about England then? The one thing that struck me was Jack Leach, who I think is their lead bowler. At one point, his longest spell was 7 overs yesterday. Today, his longest spell was 4 overs. Joe Root was bowling 3-4 over spells right till the end. And I think at one point in 76 overs, there are 20 bowling changes. Now, you don't see that too often in Test match cricket. Is Ben Stokes almost trying to make too many things happen too quickly? Or is there a learning curve even for a player of his class as a captain on the subcontinent?
There surely is. I think he'll go back today and realize that he's learnt a lot, starting from bowling changes, the kind of angles that he set on the field, and how attacking he was when bowlers went consistent with their length. As I said, when you play on flatter pitches, it's okay to try a lot. But on turning pitches, there's not so much you need to put into the field. Basic fields, which is semi-defensive, actually works a lot in their favor. But he chose to go ultra-attacking a lot of the time, and that ended up giving boundaries. The more boundaries you give, obviously the pressure keeps adding. When India comes back to bowl, you will see by the time they try and get close to the deficit, they would have had to work really hard. They would literally have to bat close to 50 overs to do that. It's not going to come easy unless they go berserk, which also presents the opportunity of picking wickets as well. So it was a learning curve for Ben Stokes, understanding, and the fact that he had actually not that great spinners in terms of skill. I think they didn't give him any consistency in length, which made it really hard. The number of full tosses on one given day, I thought was too many. I think England are a little better than that.
Some full tosses face competition from the short ball also.
Yes.
Yeah, but look at it. Rehan Ahmed is playing a second Test match. He's not played such a lot first-class cricket. Tom Hartley has played 20 first-class games. He only got 40 wickets. He's not bowled long spells. Here you have to bowl really long spells. So he's stuck with these 2 young spinners. His best spinner is Joe Root, because Jack Leach, we believe, may not be 100% fit when he's playing. He's picked a fast bowler who can only bowl short bursts and doesn't like bowling the new ball. So if you see the limitations that he has as captain, the limitations far outweigh the options. So he's had a really difficult job. I don't know whether he brought it on himself by the selections that they made, or whether that was the best that they could do, and he's actually done a good job of backing his talent.
I mean, to be fair to him, what else could he have done? I mean, you bring in Jimmy Anderson instead of a Mark Wood. Yes, you would have got
or maybe an Anderson in place of either Rehan or Hartley.
But then there's not one wicket that fast bowler has taken. So if you're going to try and tell me that James Anderson could have been the one to have picked up wickets, he could have given control. That I agree. But could he have picked up the wickets? He has in the past on good pitches, especially when it's reversing. But it's a difficult skill. I think the spinner have a much better chance in this kind of pitches, unless you have the skill set of a Bumrah who's actually, like you said yesterday, used a lot of his T20 skills, the Yorker, the slow one to pick up wickets. So I don't think the 11 was wrong per se, going with 3 spinners and the 1 fast bowler trying to use the reverse swing, and all of that was tried. It's just that India batted really well, and the fact that the spinners weren't able to control the flow of runs put a lot of pressure. Add to that, probably not a fully fit Jack Leach added to his woes further. So in a way, I empathize and feel bad, in fact, for Stokes that he couldn't get all the options that he wants, and it could be a really long series if this is how they bowl, because a lot of times they'll see India batting far too long than they would want them to.
I think just a little 6-line sentence to each of his teammates, which is something that the great Prasanna and Bedi and everyone always talked about. Length is mandatory, line is optional. And length is mandatory, and you will discover when you watch the game tomorrow, when Ashwin comes in and Ashwin experiments a little bit more, when Akshar is bowling, when Jadeja is bowling, the length will be pinpoint. They might move the ball around a little bit in terms of line, but the lengths will be exceptional. And so,
in that same vein, that's what makes it really hard to become an all-format bowler these days, because in white ball cricket, it's absolutely the opposite. Line is mandatory. You can vary your length and speed a lot more. The line is almost always mandatory these days if you want to be successful.
Okay, let's put the man with the bright shirt in the hot spot. There's a trend emerging And I think to some extent it is inevitable. The teams no longer want to play visiting teams. There was a time when visiting teams gave you a good team to play against. Most teams today are saying we're not getting good enough opposition. So they're carrying their own players with them. Like carrying your kit, you're carrying your own players and playing against each other. So India did that in South Africa, but England chose to come out of an off season and train for 11 days in Abu Dhabi and come straight and play a test match. Is that affecting them? Are there enough overs in the legs? Are there enough overs behind them to?
There are two parts to this answer. Number one, why a lot of visiting teams refrain from playing practice matches is A, the quality of pitches is very different to what they'll be playing in test matches. So they don't feel any point because they might get a flat pitch or a green pitch when they know they're going to be playing on turners. The quality of bowlers, again, more often than not, are not the quality or anywhere close to being the quality that you'll play in a test match. So these are the two main reasons.
The quality of bowlers that you carry with you will be better than what the opposition is given.
Yes.
In fact, it's interesting because you mentioned that. I think Australia said this time that the countries of the world must come together and sign a pact saying we will give you a good team to play against when you come. But could that have led to England looking a little underprepared?
The one thing that happens when you play side games, as they say, warm-up games, is you get some overs in the legs in terms of fielding. That could have been missing. Though I don't know if in Abu Dhabi they did some match scenarios where they fielded for 50, 60 overs. I would be surprised if that had happened. That's not their style of working. But what they would have done is curate pitches and customize pitches according to what they want. We're obviously speaking to Mark Wood before the game. He was telling us that they practice on all different types of pitches that they feel they could be facing in India, and understandably so. So this is the main reason why they don't play. Though I feel one of the most important factors, especially for fast bowlers, and in England's case, more so for spinners as well, because of the lack of experience, to put in the overs in the legs, to stand 90 overs in the sun and bowl 20 to 25 overs at any point of time, at different points of time during the day, is a skill in itself.
Only once in his entire career that spanned so many test matches has Joe Root bowled more than the number of overs he bowled today. And from the way he bowled, I think there is a lot more bowling coming his way. And so I'm going to be looking at Joe Root carefully, because a lot of bowlers batters have told me that when they bowl a long spell, then you use different muscles when you're bowling a long spell. That they struggle and they come out to bat. Or you've played a long innings, it's not that easy to come into bowl again. I mean, Kapil Dev often used to say, if everyone said I could have become a better batter, he said, then who would have bowled 25 overs the next day? True. So I watch Root very carefully, because he's going to do a lot more bowling.
And also, he was their best bowler. Not only because of the lengths that he bowled, but more so the number of opportunities he created. Jadeja was given out, actually. I mean, Jadeja was out after T. The umpire didn't give it because they lost the DRS. He created 3 other opportunities other than that, where there was a closed DRS call, umpire gave it once, it was overturned. All those things happened, but there was enough happening.
But right in the beginning, he got Yashasvi Jaiswal first over. Yes. KL Rahul dropped first ball. And then
Gill top edging one.
Gill hit one which Stokes didn't see.
Yes.
And so that ball landed in a very catchable place if Stokes had seen the ball all along. So he created the most opportunities, and in doing so has guaranteed himself a lot more bowling. So he's got to adjust now the workload of actually being an all-rounder. Jadeja at 6, Root might have to be the all-rounder at number 4. So there's only 2 days into a 25-day series, but already so much has happened. But now, what next? Let's go fast forward. India scored 302 runs today, well ahead. How do England come back if they can? And what do India do on day 3? Time is no longer a factor, so Jadeja and Akshar can keep on batting as long as they want. The longer they bat, the more the pitch will deteriorate. Can England do anything at all? Because the lead will touch 200 very quickly. And once the lead touches 200, it means you have to make 350 minimum.
Correct. I think you answered the question in itself, because it is true. If England,
so I've been a damn good interviewer. I've asked you. I've given you an answer rather than ask you a question.
Theoretically, that's the only way possible. They try and first of all break this partnership, stop India before 200. That's one, and then back to get 350. To be extremely honest, I don't think both of that is happening. I think it is way beyond England's reach at this point of time. The way the pitch is behaving, uneven bounce, the odd one keeping low, and the quality of spinners that India have, I fear that this test match in many ways has gone past the chance of England coming back into this. They've batted India. I mean, they batted England out of this test match. This morning when we were going in the car, we were just discussing about it, and we came to a conclusion that if India end up batting the whole day, it pretty much guarantees
and they
them
did that.
a win. And
my number was
they've done that.
150 actually. My number was 150.
I believe 200 was a possibility, and I'm happy that they're close to that.
Yeah, they're 175. The only thing that England can do is this is a 5-test series. The last time they came here, they played a 4-test series. They lost the first test, but in the second innings in Ahmedabad, in the test match that they lost, they batted almost a day and a half, almost 2 hours. They batted before losing the test, and that gave them the confidence that they could weather the Indian bowling. And then went to Mumbai, won in Mumbai, won in Kolkata, and drew the Nagpur test to win. So if you're an England supporter and you're watching this, maybe the game has gone too far for you, but can you in the second innings do something that will help you win a test match further down the road? That is, in my view, what England can achieve from the rest of the game. If they crumble, if they're say 200, 210 behind and they crumble under 200, 210, this is going to be a very, very long tour for England. అయితే రేపు పొద్దున చూద్దాం అంతే
ఇంగ్లాండ్కి అంతే ఈ రోజు మనకి అంతే.
The other thing I will tell you though is Hyderabad has taken to Dinesh Karthik so much that people in the stands have started wearing Dinesh DK's clothes. So he's actually, as soon as he came back, went to check if all his shirts are in his bag. Where do you buy your shirts from?
Trade secret, Harsha.
Point to pointer for you. Where do you think Dinesh Karthik buys his shirts from? If I don't have an answer by tomorrow, we'll try and find out. But on that slightly lighter note, India have played fabulous Test match cricket.
That's one very important. And give us where you feel I'm buying my shirts in the comment section wherever possible. Give me options to buy more.
Oh, I thought you're saying so that will overcome all the other kind of comments people like. No, but on YouTube and Cricbuzz we don't get those comments. So there you are. Wonderful being with you again. We'll see you at the end of day 3. Maybe we'll see you at the end of day 4 as well, or at some point on day 4. But at the moment, it doesn't seem very likely.
Happy Republic Day.
Happy Republic Day. It's a day for all of us to be proud of.